Hey there, this is Zachary.
And I'm Jay,
the hosts of Fear and There.
Thanks so much for listening to the following podcast on Public House Media.
Hello everybody, it's No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and we are out here. Sans filter. I wish I could show you more of this, like I really do. Podcast guests, you're absolutely missing out. I mean, look at the fabulousness. Look at it. Anyway, I kind of feel like Ice Cube, Today Was a Good Day, should be the official theme song of this show, because I feel like every time I look at metoo news now, at least within the United States anyway, other countries still have some work to do, but like, man, today is a good day. Conviction after conviction, charge after charge, and these prison sentences are fabulous. Hello, people coming in. I think that's Dylan and maybe Stacy. I don't know, but leave me a comment. It's Brittany. Hello, Brittany. And so everybody else is coming in. Hello, people coming in. I mean, look at this. Look at the spectacularness. It's so calm out here right now. I know it's supposed to be a nighttime show, but I'm on the other side of the world, so technically I'm doing the show from the future because it's Saturday morning, not Friday night. But it's Friday night for you, and that's, at least we got it half right. Anyway, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful news has happened. I am in the Maldives. Check the Instagram because it's epic. Epic. And the reason why I'm doing the show a little bit off today is because I gotta go get on the dive boat, like a half an hour after I'm supposed to do the show, so that's not really enough time. So I'm sitting with you here on my hammock above the ocean, and we're going to talk about wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things. So, wonderful pieces of news have come down this week. Keith Raniere, who is the leader of the NXIVM cult, I've done a couple shows about him. He had a self-help compound group thing up in Albany, was where they were based out of Albany, New York. And then they also had other branches, I guess you could say, in Canada and Mexico. Sounds like international sex trade to me, doesn't it? I'm sure it sounds like that to you too. Anyway, so he got in a bunch of trouble with the lady who is the heiress to the Seagram's liquor fortune. Got in a bunch of trouble with her and Allison Mack, who is an actress on Smallville, and some other people too, but those are the people that you're going to know, is Allison Mack and the lady who's the heiress to Seagram's. So, what had happened is they had this self-help group where you had to pay thousands of dollars to get into these, like, self-help, like, camps, basically. And he ended up taking a bunch of these girls as sex slaves, some of which were underage, a lot of which were underage, and then branding him with his initials and all, just like Kool-Aid and Nike shoes crazy, okay? Just absolutely buck nutty. And the woman, hold on. And the woman who is the heir to the Seagram's fortune was using her, like, family money to, like, legally suppress, like, defectors of the NXIVM cult, right? So she got sentenced to 7 years in prison. Lo and behold, this week, they finally finished the trial for Keith Raniere, who was the head of this crazy nonsense and branding girls with his initials and taking them as sex slaves and this, that, and the other thing. Obviously internationally trafficking. And he's been sentenced to 120 years. How amazing is that? So he's going to die in prison. Good for him. And I was reading some of the notes from the trial and how the judge was just like, I can't with this dude. Like, the judge lost his ability to even, which I don't blame him. Like, I think a lot of judges do, but this judge was particularly expressive about it. But what I thought was really, really disgusting and an overall theme, because it's really easy to be happy that somebody like this is getting 120 years in prison, he's going to die there. The gross underbelly of this is that he said in court that he feels zero remorse, that he doesn't feel like he did anything wrong, and all of this was consensual, despite the fact that a lot of these girls were minors and didn't have the legal ability to consent. Even with that, he still feels like he did nothing wrong, which is why he pleaded not guilty, and then the prosecution had to overwhelm the court with evidence to the contrary, obviously, which is reflected in his sentence. Speaking of sentencing, the woman who's also in prison for 7 years, the prosecution only asked for 5, and the judge was so overwhelmed with evidence against her, he sentenced her to 7. 7! Like, what do you have to do to it's one thing to get less than the prosecution asked for, but to get more by almost half? That's unheard of. If you know of a case where the prosecution asked for one sentence and the judge went above and beyond and gave more, please let me know, because I need to read about this, because I've never heard of this happen before, so that's a new one for me. New one in my books, anyway. So, Keith Raniere gets 120 years, and still, and showing remorse in front of a judge in criminal proceedings is, like, really, really important. Like, they really heavily base their opinions and make their ruling on it. And he's like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I did it, but it wasn't wrong. Which is a very, very strange guilty plea. But it just goes to speak to the entitlement and the sociopathy that we're talking about surrounding these kinds of sexual predators. They genuinely feel like they didn't do anything wrong. When you go back on every show that I've done on this of No Till Filter Friday on Public House Media, just go through the back catalog. Amazon, Google Play, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, where else? iTunes, all of it. Go back through all of it. And almost every single episode where I'm talking about a case and somebody pleading, there's like a script, like, my client categorically denies the accusations against him. And it could be anybody that says this, and they all say the same thing. And why? Why is that? Well, at first I was like, okay, well, they've got these, slimy, grimy, Hollywood, razzle-dazzle, pomp and circumstance lawyers, and they all use the same script, and it's all very, razzle-dazzle, Richard Gere in Chicago. That's, you're up here giving a song and dance and playing the game, because really it's a court of public opinion, right? The judge is just, is a supporting act in this charade. So I was like, okay, well, this is just like their legal strategy. And then getting into the Ron Jeremy case. Ron Jeremy has been charged with 35 total, because this keeps coming and coming and coming and coming for him. Just waves and waves and waves of accusers. So now, as of 2 days ago, he has 35 charges of rape, sexual assault, forced oral copulation, and a couple other things. Over the course of 12 victims. Which is kind of an interesting split, right? Oh good, it's telling me okay, great. Kind of an interesting split, right? Well, as it turns out, one of them was a minor. The oldest case or charge that he has against him is from 1996, because it was against a minor. That's included in the statute of limitations. He has had other accusers that have formally went to the police, but they were outside the statute of limitations. So 35 cases charges have been brought against him. So that means that out of the whole sea of accusers, that's what they decided to legally charge him with. And they'll probably, from what I was told, they will probably use, those people that were accusers but outside the statute of limitations, will be character witnesses, sort of in like the Harvey Weinstein case. Now, with that being said, Jackie Lacey, who is the prosecutor of Los Angeles, the criminal prosecutor of Los Angeles. She's up for re-election, and it's just, obviously days before that's going to happen. So we may see some changes depending on if Jackie Lacey gets re-elected or not. I think she's doing a bomb job. I've sent her an email. Just as a thank you. But we'll see if that changes anything, if she gets ousted from her prosecutor seat, but I doubt it. I feel like people are pretty happy with it. And, she's really running gunning on this Me Too stuff. Like, thank God for Jackie Lacey. Anyway, so Ron, ye old Ron, the hedgehog, is looking at 330 years in prison if he gets convicted just on his current charges. Now, I don't know if they've got more charges cooking out against him, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. They just probably haven't had the task force that they have surrounding this is pretty good, but there are only so many people. So considering how many people that Ron has touched over the last, even if you just say the last 20 years. Oh no, we're going to say 30 just to be safe. The last 30 years have come forward and they've gotten 35 charges on the books. So far, I would say that there's more. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see what happens with this, prosecutor seat and if Jackie Lacey, continues to be the prosecutor for Los Angeles. And we'll also see, what happens. But Ron's next court date is December 14th for a preliminary. So we'll see what else that they can pile on at this point. But his lawyer, Stuart Goldfarb, what an interesting fellow. He still is pleading not guilty for Ron and saying, oh, Ron doesn't feel like he did anything wrong. This was completely consensual with all of these women, which is not true. And one of them that he's been charged with was a minor, was also a 15-year-old. It's funny how 15-year-olds just keep popping up in case after case after case. It's such an interesting age to see as a through line through all of these dudes' cases. It's just amazing. Anyway, that's kind of what I thought about Ron this entire time, is that he just, he keeps pleading not guilty because he just cannot comprehend what's going on around him, which is just entitlement that is out of this world. Absolutely out of this world. So we shall see. We'll see what happens, but Keith Raniere is going to prison for 120 years, and Ron Jeremy is currently, as of today, looking at 330. So today is a good day as far as #MeToo sentences in the United States go anywhere. So I will see you all later. I have to go return to my true form as a mermaid, and I will see you all next week. Lord only knows what's going to happen. And next week's kind of a busy week for me, but it's going to be really fun. It's going to be fantastic. Check out other shows on Public House Media, like Choose to Rise, all of those like uplifting, fun, not nearly as dark and dirty shows as this. And I will see you all next week. And, give us a rating. iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, whatever it is that you use, give us a rating. Send us some stars. I will see you all next week. Bye, 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 bye.